Roll call ourselves in.
Freeman here.
Corey here.
Zeno here.
Bull's here.
Woodford here. The mission statement of the Chenango County IDA is the mission of Chenango County Industrial Development Agency to advance the health, prosperity, and welfare of the county citizens by helping to retain, create, and attract businesses through appropriate investments and incentives. As for a motion to approve the minutes of July 17th. Mr. Falls moves.
Second.
Mr. Raymond seconds. Discussion? If none, we'll vote.
Freeman, aye.
Corey, aye.
Zeno, aye.
Bull's eye, sorry.
Woodford, aye. We could move down to old business, section 7.
Actually, I'm gonna pause because we have lawyers on from both of them. So I'm gonna take a pivot and we're gonna talk quickly. We're gonna come to Norwich Meadows in just a second because we have a series of votes. But I think we can move through the Payne Solar discussion more quickly and then can release some of the attorneys and the conversations. We have representatives from Payne Solar on, Tim is on, we have Tom on from Von Schoeneck and King. So what we were gonna discuss as it related to Payne Solar was the feedback from the public meeting, public hearings we had. There were a series of questions regarding the public hearing. Hi,
Hello.
Sal, this time.
I'm Mary Alice Warren.
Oh, nice to meet you. Please come on, sit, join us. And so, in the process of discussing the Payne Solar project, what we wanted to be able to say was, we're not gonna be able to take a vote on that. And that's what you wanted us to ask. There was one question that we couldn't answer. There was a series of questions that made us think we may need to go back and have an additional public hearing because there were conversations between the town and the city. Brian Burton, who is our chair, is not here today. We will vote on this at the next scheduled IDA meeting in September, but we're going to determine whether or not the town and the village of Bainbridge would like us to hold an additional public hearing. The one question we were unable to answer was why the project was divided into 4 separate projects rather than 1 or 2. And can somebody answer that for me? Tim, are you able to answer that question? Please.
Yes, I am. So in order for the project to qualify for the New York Sun and Community Solar, we have to be under 5 megawatts for each project. So with the Payne site, it's large enough we could co-locate 4 projects there. And roughly 4 projects at 5 megawatts each, so it's a 20 megawatt project total, but in reality with NISTAG, it's 4 individual projects.
Because that provides you with some additional types of incentives, Tim, is that what it is?
Right.
And
Correct, because the community solar, New York State Community Solar program maxes out at 5 megawatts.
Okay,
And that's hence why we have 4 5 megawatt projects.
okay. And so that makes sense to me. So I can easily answer that back now, Barb, please, John, we'll make sure we go back online where we posted those answers and we'll answer that specifically. And Tim, what I will commit to you is that, and I will, I know that people in Bainbridge will also like this. We'll vote on it at the next meeting. I'll reach out to Brian and see if he needs another, and to the town and village, if we need another public hearing, I'll schedule that prior to the meeting so we won't delay it. Does anybody else from the board have any questions, comments? Any of our attorneys, Tom or Tim, Tom, do you have any input from Von Schoeneck and King? Anything I should be thinking about? I don't think. Tom, I can't hear you. You're
He's
muted.
just muted.
All right, good. If you want me to hear me, you let me know.
Okay, sorry about that. I couldn't get it unmuted. No input from us. I think, Sal, if you want, if there's a desire to hold a public hearing again, just like we did the last time, it would technically be 4 separate public hearings, 1 for each project, but those can of course be held, back to back. And if you want us to prepare draft public hearing notices,
I do.
again,
I do. I'm gonna assume that we do want to do that, if it's okay with the board, and just not delay that process. I'm gonna assume we will have another public hearing. So if you could help me draft those for us, please, that'd be great.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, So I think that's all we have on, paying solar, unless anybody has any other questions. All right, Tim, we'll get it voted next week, or next month, okay?
Okay, I mean, that answered my questions there. I think just some, we've seen the video from the public hearing, and I do appreciate the IDA recording those and making those public. I think there's a lot of stuff lost and nuance between the minutes and what actually happened, so I think it's very helpful for us who weren't there, and I think the public in general to review those, so I applaud you guys in doing that.
And I'm not sure,
Other than that, I mean,
I'm gonna ask Shane a question here. Shane Butler, from the County Planning Department. Shane, do we ever invite the solar companies to these public hearings? Like, why wouldn't we have Tim come and comment there? Is there any reason we wouldn't do that?
A public hearing, anybody can show up.
So again, if we get that scheduled, Tim, it might be helpful to have somebody there from the project, because the IDA doesn't answer questions during those public hearings. We're bound not to, so that's what creates the need to sometimes go back, because there's not an ability to have a conversation. But if somebody from the project was there, they're able to speak during that, they can say whatever they want. It's a public hearing. You get 5 minutes and you go last, you could answer any responses that came up that you might be able to answer. We couldn't, just might move things along more quickly.
understood. And again, just to be fair, that we did have a public hearing with the village. The village had invited us in, and we have a series of questions that we're going to respond back to the village. But a lot of our questions that we cannot answer right now are pending with NISAG on some route alignments. So I hate to say, a lot of questions we heard at your IDA public hearing, we got those same questions at the meeting we had a month or so ago, and we just haven't been able to answer it because of NISAG. We're back and forth with some cost issues on the interconnect route. So I think by default, you guys got dumped on a lot of questions that we haven't answered yet, because we're still working on our end of that, so.
That's why we might need another public hearing. You could be there to answer those. Otherwise, I'd have to delay it until I can answer them again. And so we might not vote in September. So technically or theoretically, we'd like to vote on this if we can answer those questions. And I think that's the question, right? The routing between the substation and the site. There was a bunch of questions around the aesthetics of that and what that does. Not the site, not the project, the routing of it.
No, 100% agree. 100% agree with that, so.
So if we can answer those, we'll vote in September. If not, and the public feels good about it and the board feels good about it, I think then we'll probably, if we need to be able to answer that question, I think that's what Brian's gonna tell me. So that's why I'd like Tom to draft those papers.
Gotcha. Okay. Other than that, though, I appreciate the time here. That I think we're moving forward, and I mean, obviously, we would like to keep this moving forward as quickly as possible and try to get these questions answered. But and with us dealing with some of the NISAG issues, it just slows it down as well. So.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Could I ask one question, please? Hi there, my name's Salim Islam. I'm Chief Development Officer at Katami, the company developing the projects. Do you know which dates in September that will be, where you alluded to finalizing this process?
What date in September? Yeah. Theoretically, we can look that up right now.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Whoever hits those first.
I think it's the 18th. The 18th, I believe, is the next meeting.
It's usually like September 18th, I guess.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the 18th of September.
All right, that's great. That's perfect. Thank you so much for.
Sure. We'll send out invites, John will send out invites right away for the 18th. We'll get a public hearing scheduled as soon as we have the papers drafted. We'll speak to the town and the village, and we'll go from there. Tim, we'll invite you obviously to that public hearing. If you can be there, that'd be great.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Any other questions on Payne Solar?
Actually, just as we spoke last month, we hold public hearing relative to the pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes and the IDA aspect of this Payne Solar project. However, many of the questions were technical questions, which really are not party to our reason for holding the public hearing. So, I mean, they do have a right to know what some of those technical questions are. So it would be good to clarify those things. You're voting on the tax implications, Correct.
not the not the technical aspects, as long as it fits within our requirements of decommissioning and the other things that are related to that. But that's why the town board's input is what's important about the aesthetics and where it goes and the infrastructure upkeep and all those things. Right, so that's good counsel that we're not voting on that, but the board's the town is gonna give us the input on that, so. I forget that sometimes, we're not judging the project.
Correct. Okay, so I think, we're good with the clean solar project.
We are.
Thank you very much, folks.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you much for, thanks to meet you all, albeit virtually, and appreciate your time, and have a great day. Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Full business.
Norwich Meadows, and so this is, I'll paraphrase this, and maybe you'll help me where I'm wrong, and our guests from Norwich Meadows will. The IDA has been working with them for years now on this project, and we have a lease agreement with them, a lease to own agreement with them. They would like an easement from us. This is far too simplistic, but Amy will fill in the blanks. They would like an easement from us that would allow them to do some work on that property. And in order to grant that easement, it's best for us to accelerate the transfer of the product and sell it to them now. The only risk to us regarding the issuance of that easement if something were to go wrong was if the business were to fail between now and the close of that sale, right? Is that, Amy, did I get that at a high enough level? Did I get that correct? You're muted. There you go.
Sorry, that was close. The only change I have to what you said is that the easement is actually being granted by Norwich Meadows to Farm Credit East, its lender, to build. So we're, the only thing that the IDA is going to be signing is a landowner consent saying that it's okay for them to grant this easement. And the only reason there was some hesitation on this at the beginning is because if for some reason the lease is terminated, so if Norwich Meadows defaults on the lease and the IDA determines that it's in its best interest to terminate the lease, that the easement would remain in effect and that the IDA would be essentially the grantor of that easement and obligated under that easement. But again, as Sal correctly stated, is that if Norwich Meadows exercises its option of purchase, which it has under the lease, it has that right to exercise its option of purchase. The only risk lies in between the period of the time that the landowner consent is signed and the time of closing, which is obviously very, in our opinion, is very minimal, that there would be any issues in that, 90 to 120 days that we think it would take to get from the time of Norwich Meadows exercising the option to the date of closing. So we're actually, IDA is only actually signing a landowner consent, and the easement will be granted by Norwich Meadows to its lender, Farm Credit East.
I've spoken to Brian about this, and he thinks the ability to transfer the product sooner rather than later is good for the IDA. It'd be good for Norwich Meadows. They would feel good about that, mutually agreed upon. So, Amy, can you walk us through the series of steps and resolutions that we need to do to make that happen? And then before we do that, I want to open it up to any questions from the board about, first, the process in order to, so what happens is we give permission to Norwich Meadows to grant an easement to another company to build a building on their property. That's basically, well, to start that work on their property, correct? In order to make that happen, we want to sell them that property, and that takes another resolution. So can you walk us through the three resolutions that we vote on today, and then anybody can ask any questions, and then RC will go through each of those one at a time.
Yep.
Yeah, so the hope is that Norwich Meadows will exercise this option simultaneously when the IDA signs the landowner consent. So you're resolving to allow the IDA permission and authority and resolving that they will enter into or sign that landowner consent. At that time, Norwich Meadows, it's understood that Norwich Meadows are exercises option to purchase. And at that time, there is a form of purchase and sale agreement already attached to the lease. So there's really no negotiating any terms, but to the extent that something needs to be changed, this allows the respective parties as listed in the resolution to make any necessary formatting changes or changes that might be necessary due to the passage of time. But it'll be substantially in the form already agreed to by the IDA. And then at that time, the IDA will need to take steps under its property disposition policy. We have not gone into the details of that in this resolution. This just gets us to that step where the IDA can sign a landowner consent, after Norwich Meadows exercises the option, it authorizes the IDA to sign that purchase and sale agreement. And then third, to take any necessary steps under the property disposition policy in order to sell that property. And then I anticipate that there'll be further resolutions once we're under contract to sell, to actually transfer the property sometime in that time period from the date of signing until the date of closing.
All right, anybody have any questions about what we're doing here?
So Amy, the first resolution that we'll be acting on today would be the resolution of the Chenango County IDA authorizing the agency to execute a landowner consent in favor of the farm credit leasing.
That's correct?
That's the first order of business, correct?
Yes.
And then the second order of business to follow, we have several other resolutions within our packet. Would there be further action after that number one?
In the form resolution, we've, authorized or resolved that the substance of the consent is approved, that the chairman, vice chairman, and president and CEO are authorized to sign that consent. And then it also allows, once Norwich Meadows exercises that option in section 5 of that proposed resolution, to execute the purchase agreement and take any necessary actions necessary under law and the disposition policy moving forward once we're under contract.
So essentially, once we act on that resolution that's in our packet today, that empowers the agency to execute the other agreements that are within our packet.
That's correct, yep.
Okay.
So we need to take the one vote.
So for our purpose today, we have to act on simply that resolution authorizing the owner consent agreement, correct?
Yep, and that'll get you to the point of being under contract and taking any steps under the disposition policy. And then after we get to that point, then we'll have further resolutions prior to the property actually being transferred.
Okay,
Any questions? This predates me, but apparently we acted on this about a year and a half ago initially. So this is not new business. It's essentially speeding up or accelerating the timeline to make the transfer of the property happen. So what's your pleasure?
somebody needs to make a motion to accept the resolution with
Would
consent.
anyone consider making
Is
that?
this for the easement and conveyance agreement itself?
Correct, it would be this resolution, Mike, that.
Yeah.
Which then empowers us to execute some of those other agreements that are part of our package for
I'll make that motion.
today.
I'll second.
Mr. Corey seconds. Discussion? If none, we'll vote.
Raymond, aye.
Corey, aye.
Lino, aye. Ryan, aye.
Bullseye.
Woodford, aye. Carries. Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Is there anything else we need to act on today, Amy, that you?
I don't believe so. Is there a representative from Norwich Meadows in the room
Yes.
today?
Yes, there is.
I will recommend to the board that they wait to sign the consent until the exercise of the option's been officially exercised by Norwich Meadows, just to make sure we're all on the same page. And then, as soon as that's exercised, my recommendation for the board would be to go ahead and sign that consent.
Makes sense.
So you guys know what you have to do to be able to move forward? Perfect. Thank you. I guess we're good. We'll close that out. We'll move on. We'll go back to the financials then. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate your patience while we work through it.
Yes, thank you very much.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be seeing you soon.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
And now we go back up to the financial report. Kathy Jo.
Okay,
Kathy Jo, financial report?
yes. Okay, so the statement of financial position, the checking account is holding a low balance, but I transfer money from the money market monthly as needed to pay the bills. The Interfi account is earning a little over 4,000 a month, so it's growing pretty good. And then if you go down to current liabilities, accounts payable is 12,000, but they're all within 30 days. And net activity year to date is 71,000. And if you go to the next page, aged receivables. Highbridge Wind on the age receivables. For some reason, they're giving it an issue on paying because I reached out to them twice and they keep coming back saying that they don't owe it. I think that they don't pay until the project actually starts. So I'm not sure where that's coming from. So we're still working through that.
Isn't that contractual?
Say that again, Mike?
Isn't that contractual?
Part of the
Yeah.
Enter into the pilot.
Right. Once the pilot started, then they're supposed to pay an annual fee. But this last email I got from them, they're thinking they don't have to pay the next pilot until the project starts, which is another year.
Send the email to me.
Yes, I will. I will.
They're exercising a right to defer their payment. So
I don't know, Mike, what the legality of it is, but I'm gonna find out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what
It's a folks, it's a question for,
Bond show they could send me the email.
Right,
I don't know
okay.
what their obligations are.
Okay,
I'm
but,
not-
I mean, 'cause
that's the first time.
Barb and I have been, well, the email just came the other
It's
day.
okay, just
Yeah.
send it.
But Barb and I have been emailing them, trying to get them to pay, and they had the issue of being billed in January, so we're doing it on the anniversary date in June. And now they're,
Send me the history of it.
Okay, I
Send
will.
it up for me, send me their email, and you need to get our lawyers involved. I don't know what the legal issue, I don't know what our rights are.
okay,
I'll find out.
all right. Then if you go to the next page, age payables, like I said, all the bills are within 30 days. And then to the next page, statement of activities. You can see where the interest income was 4,600 for the month of July. Year to date is 31,000. And then if you go to the second page of that, there was a $10,000 was sent for the deposit for the purchase of 23 East Main Street. So for the month, net activity is a negative 15,000, but year to date is 71,000 to the good.
okay, thank you. Any questions for Kathy Joe? No? Entertain a motion to approve the financial statement?
Corey moves.
Corey moves. Mr. Folds, second. The vote?
Raymond, aye. Corey, aye.
Zia, Ryan, I.
Woodford, aye. Carried. Bills and invoices. See the detail.
Pretty standard. Nothing unusual.
Yep, looks like we have our renewal for Philadelphia Insurance.
Yep, Philadelphia and Preferred, it's the annual renewal.
How much in comparison to last year, insurance was there, a big variance?
It's, no, it's just a little increase, like a couple $100.
Okay.
And entertain a motion to approve the bills and invoices. Mr. Folds moves.
Second.
Mr. Ryan seconds. Discussion? None, we'll vote.
Raymond, aye. Corey, aye.
Zia, Ryan, I.
Woodford, aye. Carried. Executive Director report.
Yeah, just quickly, we'll, the preferred building, we've had the O'Reilly brothers over there to help us think about how we'll set that up for the chamber. I've met here with you guys all took a tour. The last time we met, I met with the Hayeses. We're working with them. We're very appreciative of, we've committed, we're trying to give them 90 days notice. I think they're pleased about that. We had in our lease agreement what would happen if we let the lease expire. So they're working with New York Forward on some potential grants and ESD. So hopefully we can go through this amicably, but I don't know where it is from a closing standpoint. So we'll figure that out here. But I hoped by the end of September we would close. The other thing I want to let you guys know, in 2025, I put a budget request into the county for an additional $25,000. I'm also going to come to the IDA and put it in our budget. And I'm also going to, I think, I'm going to go to a couple other municipalities and ask that they consider putting some money together. And obviously, I'll come to the IDA. I've committed to Mike and Stan on the Planning and Economic Development Committee that if this were to be approved, we need a certain amount of money to be able to go out and pursue grants, to have that matching fund capability. We need a certain amount of money to be able to go out and utilize a consultant, because right now, this work that Shane was just describing, for instance, when before the meeting started, we get constant requests about how to, what businesses, what buildings, what pieces of property are available within the county. As importantly as that, and Project Quantum, which I'm going to talk about when we go into executive session, is a perfect example. When we get those opportunities, I don't know how to put together the financial packages that make it attractive to choose Chenango County over Boone County or Chemung County. There's people that help you with that. As a matter of fact, I forget who there's consultants out there that do that now, like the people that are helping Oxford get their New York Forward. Why would they do that? Well, because they've tried 3 times. This will be the 3rd time they've tried to get it, and they've gotten turned down. So if you really want to pursue some of these opportunities, you can't go at it like we've gone at it. You have to go at it, and as importantly, and this is one of the things that we're going to do. I applied for a grant from New York State. The Development Chenango Corporation is committed to pay the other half of the grant, $100,000, to put together a true economic development study that says, here are the things that have worked in other counties around the country, and your demographic. They'll do a needs assessment, and they'll say, at the municipal level, here's an economic development strategy that is actionable. Whatever activations like housing, workforce development, whatever elements of those things they think will be the most impactful will be the things we work on first. Obviously, we're going to work with Shane to inform the 2050 vision. All of this should be a catalyst for what that 2050 vision looks like. Right? How do you get there if you don't start it? Well, if you keep running around like I am with a bunch of one-offs saying today it's the daycare center and tomorrow it's the U.S. Silicone and today it's housing, it's not a plan. That's not how you get things done. And if you can line a plan up and say, okay, improving your housing stock and creating a land bank, which is something Shane and I think is important to do and other counties are doing. If you hired a consultant to help you set that land bank up, you can then go focus on the daycare center and so on and so forth. But I need to be able to fund that. And that's how other counties are doing that. Other counties, other IDAs, other local development corporations are hiring people. How 5 people, I don't care who they are, can't get that done. And one of them's focused on membership, and one of them's focused on getting our meetings together. You got 2 people, 1.5 people focused on economic development, right? Without some assistance, it's in a competitive world, competitive grants, competitive landscape. I mean, I was on a call yesterday, DRI, New York Forward, right? They're saying to us, there's a lot of money available out there. You can, and the best places they want to give money to, places they've already invested. So if we had a plan and we knew how to activate the DRI, they'd love to come right back to Chenango County and give you money again because they'd say, hey, you knew how to do that. And Oxford does well. So what's the next one? How do you put that together and say, here's what would really stimulate our economy? And I don't know, everybody has an opinion. And I don't know how to do that. And the same things that we think would attract the business, Diane Scholars will ask me all the time. We should go study what they did in Albany, up on the chip corridor up there, and how the ancillary businesses were attracted to support that. She's right. I don't know how to do that. And the same, but I do know the same things that would attract those businesses, a vibrant economy, a clean downtown, a safe place to live, affordable house. It's the same place that make your existing businesses happy. People think you lose sight of NBT or Raymond or the small. Not true. They all have hundreds of jobs open. So how do you make them fully and gainfully employed? Workforce development, a more skilled labor force. Morrisville, empty building, not being fully utilized over there. how do you activate that and create something like they're advertising right on County Route 32 over here? SUNY Brooms advertising micro credentials, 4 weeks or 4 years, you make the choice. Why can't we do that over here? I don't know how. I need somebody to help me. I'm gonna put a bunch of requests in to try to get people to help me figure out how to do this so we can get a plan. It's coming, that's all I want to do right now. So I've already submitted it to the county, I'm gonna submit the IDA, the Local Development Corporation. And I think the city of Norwich is somebody else that should put some money in the game, because again, they are the county seed and so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens. Then I do need to go into an executive session to discuss contracts, obviously. I don't expect to have to ask you guys to vote on any business coming out of that.
So moved.
Mr. Corey moves to go into executive session, Mr. Ford seconds, discussion. None, we'll vote.
Freeman, aye. Corey, aye.
Zeno, Ryan,
Hold up.
Look for that.
Shane and Matt, you guys can stay. Jeff, obviously, this Project Quantum, all we've been engaged in a conversation in the past. So that's what we're gonna talk about now. I'm gonna hand out some information. Shane, why don't you guys come up, Jeff?